Good afternoon, good morning. Mark Johnson from Loyalty360. Welcome back to our Leaders in Customer Loyalty series. This is our Brand Stories podcast. It's always great to have you every Thursday. In today's episode, we explore the heart of hospitality and the strategic thinking behind customer loyalty programs that truly put the customer first. We often speak with mid-sized brands, especially in the restaurant space, that offer great food, solid support, and dedicated frontline staff. Yet they still face challenges in crafting authentic customer experiences. These organizations often have the flexibility to pivot, listen, and evolve, not just their programs, but even their physical spaces in response to customer needs. Yet despite that agility, many still struggle. Authenticity can be hard to maintain in larger organizations, where bureaucracy and technology sometimes dilute the brand's original spirit. And while smaller brands may have the freedom to move quickly, they often need a leader or clear guideposts to show the way. Today we're going to meet one of those leaders. Hospitality often comes natural to smaller regional brands, particularly those rooted in a Southern culture, where warmth and personal connection are part of their DNA. These brands understand that loyalty isn't just about points or discounts, it's about what a customer chooses in your restaurant, knowing there are a sea of options. And more importantly, how do you ensure they choose you again? In this episode, we're going to hear from Chris Cheek. He is the Chief Development Officer of Newk's Eatery. He's the architect behind the customer-centric approach that blends hospitality, strategic insight, and a deep understanding of choice and conversion. Chris shares how Newk's approach to customer loyalty, not just as a program, but as a philosophical foundation that begins when the moment a guest walks through that door. Chris, how are you today? Thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
I'm well. Hope you all are.
We're doing great. Thank you very much for asking. First off, for those who may not be familiar, can you give us a little bit of a history regarding Nukes? What you guys do, how you do it, how you were founded?
Yeah. Great. Thank you again for having me. Nukes was founded in 2004. We are in the fast casual restaurant space, but we're founded on a couple of key principles. Number one is hospitality. We believe that's the value add to the guest who has many choices when dining out, specifically in the fast casual category, but other categories that we share customers with. Along with that, we are a scratch kitchen, fast casual. So we do things in our kitchen that others can't or won't do, right? We're grilling fresh proteins in house. So we can do things like salmon and shrimp and steak, in addition to chicken with our sandwiches and our salads. Because we do have in the fast casual space a real kitchen. There are no microwaves in a Nukes. So our sort of one of our points of meaningful differentiation always has been the kitchen, the open kitchen, which is the engine for us creating fresh ingredients and fresh items for our guests when they order them. We make 7 salad dressings from scratch in-house. Things like that are all points of meaningful differentiation for us and to our guests.
So do you think that's kind of that unique approach, the kitchen, no microwaves, customized salad, customized offerings, grilling all your protein fresh? Is that what has led to the great success that has had?
I think that, along with our focus on hospitality,
Yeah.
because when all of us go out to eat lunch or dinner, we have a lot of options, and we have our favorites, and some are more convenient to where we live or work than others. But one thing that differentiates a lot of brands in every category is the hospitality piece. So when a guest walks in, that immediate eye contact from a team member, that genuine smile from a team member, helping a guest who may be a first-time guest in your restaurant from a team member are all critical to what we do. I would say it's equal to the quality of food that we produce, and the overall guest experience, that both of those, the hospitality and the food, come together to deliver.
It's interesting you mentioned kind of choice, right? My wife and I both have big jobs. We have 4 kids, only 2 left in the house, but 2 are Division I athletes, traveling a lot. And choice, we go to restaurants probably 3 times a week,
Yep.
take out. But I'm kind of picky, finicky. There's a few I like. I'm a Longhorn guy. I could eat there most every day. Qdoba. I'll try. I love Nukes. I've had it at Auburn a couple times that I've been there,
Yep.
but I don't run into Nukes that often. But when I do, I definitely stop in. But choice is something, especially as you get older, right? I'd rather go to a Longhorn than maybe try something else. I try to try one or two things a week. So that choice has got to be very important. So when they give you that opportunity, people are loyal to certain brands, right? So when you get that opportunity to engage them, do you know if they're new guests or can you find out, or is it that hospitality that kind of impacts that choice? Because it's for me, and I think for a lot of others too, that they go to a set series of restaurants. So how can you expand that group or set of opportunities for the restaurants? That makes sense?
Yeah, I think so. So there's a couple of questions in there. One is we're talking about loyalty and it's really become heightened in the restaurant category. I would say the discussion around it and the theories behind it and the technology that supports it. It's been all of that's come to a lot of momentum in the last 5 to 7 years. But if you think about it, loyalty's been around for a long, long time, right? It's why I'm sitting in a Marriott
Yeah,
hotel right now. I'm a Marriott guy.
absolutely.
All things being equal in price, I'm a Marriott guy. Same thing, flying Delta. So loyalty is not something new for consumers, but the aspect of it in the restaurant business has been heightened because of a lot of things that we all talk about, a lot of the headwinds we talk about in the restaurant space, right? Labor, tariffs, driving cost of goods and equipment on the new build outside. And so, what is it that we on the restaurant in the restaurant category, and specifically Nukes, can do to increase the number of times guests visit with us? Right, we have um, almost 27% of our sales are tied to loyalty club members. If you look at it on a 90-day rolling average, right, and our loyalty guests on that same 90-day rolling average are going to visit us 2.6 times more often than a non-loyalty guest. So we see the benefit of it directly with Nukes. And, we're not a discounting brand. We're not a buy one, get one brand. We believe in the value of what we offer. And we sort of get to that with duos and trios, right? You pick two or pick three, ultimately generating a lot of value in the mind and true value to the guest. But the loyalty program makes someone feel connected to the brand, feel connected
Yep.
to that experience, and brings them back more frequently. And I don't have the data in front of me, but industry data indicates that loyalty club members have a higher per average ticket than non-loyalty club members in comparison.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you make a lot of good points. You mentioned headwinds. You mentioned kind of the tariffs and the unpredictability that's kind of out there right now. Some have headwinds, some have tailwinds, and it seems to vacillate every day. Just as you think things are going to calm down, all of a sudden we're not paying people out on furlough, which is, it makes it difficult for you to plan, right? And when you look at some of those economic headwinds, especially. And you mentioned as we prep for this, you're looking at new store formats. How do some of those economic headwinds impact some of your decisions?
Yeah, and there's another headwind, if you want to call it that, that we're also dealing with, and that is um, rents aren't getting any cheaper. Vast majority of our locations are leased locations. Many of us who've been doing this for a long time, as we struggled our way through COVID and we're negotiating with landlords back during COVID for rent relief, you're thinking in the back of your mind, man, the landlords are going to be more humbled when we come out of COVID, right?
Yep.
With the price of with the lease rates, and boy, that didn't happen. It almost went the other way. And
That's
so
interesting.
we're also battling that, but we're doing that by building smaller buildings, right? We don't need as many seats in our restaurants as we did, when the brand was started, even up 10 years ago. We don't need 4,500 square feet anymore. We've got prototypes that range from 2,800 to 3,600 square feet. And that helps on the P&L as well, that line that's called occupancy cost. That's one of your largest fixed costs when you sign a lease. Cost of goods and labor vary with sales, but your rent is your rent. And so, I think the way we tackle the headwinds is to continue to drive value to our
Yep.
guests with what we talked about earlier, the pick two, the pick three, which represent a large amount of the way our guests order with us, right? We may have 31% of our sales could be sandwiches, but they may be ordered in a pick two with a soup and a salad. So the ordering method versus the item for us, we see a variation in, and that variation is a good thing. It means if guest is looking to us for value with that pick two or pick three. Um, and I will add one thing that is maybe not a headwind, but maybe a threshold, and that is I think many brands, and we're somewhat in that category. It felt like over the years we've pushed price as far as we can push price, right?
Yep.
So that's not a final decision, but we are very cognizant of what today's consumer is feeling in terms of pressure from things not related to food in their life, but where restaurants have moved their menu price points to over the last number of years.
Well, you mentioned that too. We, as a trade association for customer loyalty, we meet with brands on a weekly basis. We have different brands, lead different topics, and we had one a couple weeks back around value, right? We had a grocer and a large home goods entity talk about how they're looking at value. And value can mean a number of different things. It can be discounting, which you said that's not an approach. It's convenience potentially, right? It's the combination meals that you're looking at. It's, even increasing the personalization and kind of the customer service options in a smaller restaurant. That's all value. But the
Right.
customers are definitely looking for value, and they're asking of the brands they engage with, about value in different ways. What are you seeing with value? Is it the restaurant kind of the combined offerings? Is it the pick twos, pick threes? What does value mean to you, and how is it kind of manifesting itself?
Yeah, it's all of those things, and it varies on a per guest basis. That's why you really have to, solve the riddle of quality of food, portion size, guest experience. I'm a big believer. I think this is an old Disney phrase that the experience starts in the parking lot, so the experience of that when the guest pulls up, I think all of those things have to come together for each individual guest experience because I know my approach um, to what I think is value in a restaurant varies from what my wife thinks is value in a restaurant. For her, it's more what are the sight lines, what are the light levels, what are the music levels. Um, you know, because if you think about coming into a restaurant, your five senses are impacted, and often the very last one to be impacted is taste, right? What you see, what you hear, what you smell, those things occur when you walk into a new restaurant before you even get to put the food in your mouth, the taste piece of it. So
Right.
I think we have to always focus on the restaurant side on to the extent we can, keeping in mind we're doing this through as restaurant brands, we're doing delivering the guest experience through mainly um, hourly partners, right? They're well
Yep.
trained, very conscientious hourly partners, but that experience and the quality of foods being delivered through those hourly partners. So our training programs have to always address that. And then one of the challenges I think that we'll probably talk about is how do you get that, continue that culture of hospitality down through a guest just ordering online or through your app and picking it up and walking away, eating in their office, or third party delivery orders that are delivered by someone that's not even an employee or a team member of your brand.
Well, that's an interesting segue. So, how do you expand hospitality? Because I think you mentioned, right, there's some different factors. You talked about technology earlier that can enable customer experience, customer loyalty, but you also have technology that can disintermediate, right? Where if you're using a third-party delivery, Uber Eats, potentially other delivery services if you're using them, and also even like you talked about the parking lot. The experience starts in the parking lot. There seems to be trash blowing around all over the place right now, and there's only so much of that control. But One thing I know you do have, or at least you did have, you had those wonderful breadsticks up front, and that's always something you can grab a few of those in the little packs,
Yeah.
the
Some
drive.
some some grab more of those than others, by the
I would
way.
be one of those. So I was going to ask if there's a shrinkage concern there, but that's
Yeah.
we can ask that next. But yeah, how do you expand that hospitality with all of these ancillary pieces that are impacting, the opportunity to do and have a good experience?
Yeah, I think it starts with um, my point of view with third-party delivery specifically is you can't fight it, right?
Yep.
I mean, we talk about loyalty, our loyalty customers. There are customers that are very loyalty to DoorDash and Uber Eats and others, and no matter how hard you try as a brand to highlight or point out to them, to the guest, the level of additional expense they're incurring by ordering through those. Guests are going to order through their favorite, right? Their Dash Pass or their, I think it's Uber One or whatever. So you can, as a brand, you don't want to fight it because that's a very a proven, not going away distribution channel for your product. So then it comes down to packaging, right? So if you can't have a smiling Newk's employee handing that bag across the counter to a guest in a restaurant, um, your packaging often becomes the way of doing that, right?
Yep.
Of conveying the brand value and the brand essence and things like that. So, I think it really comes down to packaging, as we discussed, third party delivery, um, uh, that point of distribution.
That makes sense. But there seems to be also oftentimes too where, I was watching my daughter play soccer in college a couple weeks ago and used one of the delivery services and had two pretty bad issues, right? So,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I don't remember who it was with, or they weren't large national chains, they were the smaller entities. And I don't think it necessarily in that situation reflects poorly on the brand, but can that be a concern, and how do you mitigate that? Because we've talked a number of different restaurants about that in the past. Is it can be a challenge, right? Especially for someone local who's ordering from, their local pizzeria or a Newk's or a Subway potentially.
yeah,
If they mess it up several times, whose responsibility is it? Is it the third party delivery service? Is it yours? How do you approach that? Because that can definitely impact that customer experience, don't you think? Or that hospitality that you guys do such a
yeah,
basic job of.
yeah. It's the ultimate part of that equation is we don't if it's an order coming through third party delivery, we as the brand don't have a lot of connectivity to that customer.
Yeah.
We don't own their information and we don't own the relationship directly.
Yeah.
And we may not find out in some cases. Obviously, the third party delivery providers do pass that information back to us, but it doesn't come directly back to us, right? So I think again, it's a tough solve if, as you mentioned in your experience, you had a bad experience, right? Ordering from brand X coming through
Yeah.
one of the third-party delivery drivers. You don't know if they made multiple stops before they got to you. You don't know if they drove through Starbucks to get themselves a cup of coffee before they got your food to you. Um, so that's the tough part. I mean, I think the way to solve it, it's not a solvable, not an easily solvable element as you do your own delivery, right?
Yeah.
Like the
Absolutely.
pizza guys have been doing forever. But that becomes cost prohibitive for certain brands, right? It's difficult to do in fast casual, impossible to do, many would say in fast casual. So I think again, it gets back to when you find out there was a problem, meaning when the brand finds out there was a problem, you do everything you can to fix it as quickly as possible,
That
right?
makes perfect sense.
Um,
Yep.
but it is a challenge, there's no question, because you don't own that customer relationship directly.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think that's where a lot of brands kind of abnegate on that and then kind of hoping that it just go away. But being proactive like you are and addressing it is interesting. And, I'm dealing with a situation right now where I dropped something off at UPS, something $1,000 package. My son dropped it off. We didn't get a receipt that day, but we went back and they gave us a camera footage of them on it. And now we're negotiating with them and Amazon. They're like, well, it's not our fault. We're not UPS. I'm like, hold on a minute.
your sign says UPS store. I know it's not UPS per se, but we dropped it off. It's
Yeah,
my fault. We handed it to you.
yeah,
So you're like, we have to deal with Amazon. I'm like, why do you
yeah.
lost the package, right? And she's like, well, we didn't lose the package because we're not part of UPS. So you can either take approaches like that, or you can proactively address like you do, which I think is good.
Well, and what you're highlighting, just the UPS example is it's what we live with at Newk's and many other restaurant brands. That's a franchisee of UPS, right? So it's likely that's a franchisee of UPS that opened a UPS store.
Yep,
And so, we at Newk's we'll have 100 restaurants open by the end of the year, this year. And so 29 of those we own and operate ourselves. The rest are all operated by independent, in many cases, multi-unit franchise owners. And so it's ensuring that those franchise owners are doing that, or treating the guest experience through third-party delivery in a way that we would do it in one of our 29 company-owned restaurants.
that makes sense. When we started this, we kind of jumped right in and kind of got sideways a little bit. Tell us a little bit about you, kind of about your role, your day-to-day role at Nukes. As we prep for this, you kind of talked about some things you did before and kind of this is your second, stint with Nukes. Could you tell us a little bit more about your current role, what you do, and what you like about the position?
Yeah, I'm Chief Development Officer with Newk's Eatery. As I mentioned earlier, this is an encore for me. I was here from 2014 to 2019. We had 60 restaurants when I started in 2014 at Newk's. And so it was a good opportunity after some moving on to some larger companies, which we sold, to come back to Nukes and help restart the growth, right, post COVID. And so, as Chief Development Officer, I'm responsible for a number of things: franchise recruiting, new franchise recruiting, real estate site selection, negotiation, and construction. And the latter two items, real estate and construction, I am responsible for on the company-owned side of our business too. So, I wouldn't normally be the person you would be talking to for loyalty and technology discussions like this, but it represents a key element at Nukes that no matter what your role is, we all are very knowledgeable in order to be credible of all other aspects of the business, not just what we're responsible for, but other aspects of the business that franchisees will ask me about, new franchisees or prospective franchisees will ask me about loyalty and technology, and have to be credible in those discussions. So, but my role is franchise recruiting, real estate, and construction to grow the brand.
But you mentioned maybe not who we would talk with periodically or traditionally, right? I mean, we see kind of a dichotomy there. When it's more senior, when it's more aligned with the organization, like yourself, we're talking to a president, a brand president, a senior vice president, whatever it may be. Those organizations have a kind of a deeper focus on customer loyalty, and the programs do better. The programs are integrated in with the operation from sense of data, from operation, from a training perspective, a number of things you've spoken with. And those brands who have maybe someone who may be a little bit more junior, they don't understand the inner workings of the company, the passion points, the kind of the deep heritage and lineage of the company, and how customer loyalty should fit into it. So I think having, kind of a more senior person who can speak to, who has a passion for customer loyalty and how the loyalty program can kind of bring that out is very important for you and the brand.
Sure, absolutely.
Um, Perfect. So when you look at some of the kind of the new franchisee process, you talked about a little bit. How do you do that? How do you determine what's a new franchisee? If you move from the south to the north, is that different? If you move from the south to the west, is that different? What makes a good franchisor, and how does the process work?
Well, I think, put simply, you have to be, as a franchisor, very selective about who you award franchise rights to, right? It's been said a lot, but it's more like a marriage than it is a partnership, right? And a business partnership, I should say. And you, as a franchisor, and the same on the franchisee side, have one chance to decide if it's going to be a good fit, right? Up front. And so we try to do the best we can to identify the best franchise partners we can to invite into our system. It's not an exact science, and we don't have a crystal ball on how someone will perform once their restaurants are open and
Yep.
flying our flag. But I will say that we try to be very, irrespective of geography, right? Be very diligent about who we pursue for franchisees. If they're existing restaurant owners, we'll get into their existing restaurants that they have before becoming a Nukes franchisee and see how they operate and see if their team members deliver the genuine smile and the eye contact that we expect. So it really is, much like site selection. It's your opportunity up front before you sign a lease or buy land, or sign up a new franchisee to be very active in that decision-making process. Is this going to be a good fit or not?
Excellent. When you look at the customer loyalty program as you expand, from into the hundreds of locations, does the program need to be kind of updated periodically? How do you go about keeping the loyalty program fresh and kind of relevant as you expand, the number of stores that you have, or restaurants, should I say, within the program?
Yeah, I think there's two parts to that. One is we have to always look at, and this doesn't necessarily play into growth, number of unit growth or geographic growth. We have to look at what the guest is demanding in terms of loyalty, and make that from a technology perspective and a process perspective, make that easily scalable across a franchise system, right? Before I got into this business 25 years ago, I was in software, sales and marketing. And I always said that there's wonderful technology. But if you don't have three things come together, people, process, and technology, the best technology will fail. The best process will fail if the people don't embrace it, right? And the technology doesn't support the process. So uh, we have to approach this as we grow and improve our loyalty programs and technology supporting it in such a way that we can roll it out across a very diverse group of franchise owners. Some
Yeah.
have different backgrounds, different appreciations for technology and process changes. So I think it's important to always look at as you grow, and add items like this that involve technology, and they have to involve technology on the loyalty side. No one's going back to the old punch cards anymore. The people and process, is it easily supportable by the people that have to execute it and the processes behind it?
That makes perfect sense. When you look at, you talked about this a little earlier, that the loyalty program, over 25% of sales, which is a significant milestone. What does customer loyalty, or should I say, how does customer loyalty play into kind of the broader business strategy and profitability goals you have for the organization?
Well, as we see that guest comes more frequently, and so that's what every restaurant chain looks for, right? That frequent guest coming more often, and in theory, spending a higher check on those visits. So
Absolutely. Yep.
the plain and simple, I mean that's it's a guest that you've captured, that you don't have to spend additional marketing dollars to get that guest to come in to try you for the first time. So I think it's as simple as that.
Okay, excellent. We talked about this a little bit, kind of how Nukes is different in the the fast casual space. You also leverage technology very uniquely as well, right? You just launched a new point of sale system with kitchen displays and customer facing touch points. How has this technology improved operational efficiency and customer experience?
Yeah, so we've rolled out Toast and Toast kitchen display system to almost 60 of our 99 locations, and we expect to have them all live by January. What it does is a number of things, both in the kitchen, but to the guest, first of all, the guest has a guest-facing display when they walk in at the point of sale. It allows that guest to check their loyalty account, allows them to review and confirm those orders. They can add a tip, pay at their own pace, and even check themselves in for each visit without needing a counter server. So that guest-facing display right up front frees up the team member that's working the POS to maybe suggestively upsell or recommend some things versus having to stare at the POS in front of them to look up uh, how many loyalty points the customer has, right? And so for that, it's been very, very significant. And then underlying that is our point system allows guests to accumulate points for anything on our menu. It's not like after 10 items you get a free sandwich or you get a free slice of cake, or you can accumulate those points. You can use them for anything you like across our menu. But this rollout of Toast and the kitchen display systems has really been uh, significant for us.
Okay. And when you look at these new tools, you talked about technology being one of kind of the pillars for an organization that are very important. When you look at the kind of the rollout of these technology pilots, the kiosks, the apps, upgraded websites, how are you measuring customer satisfaction, long-term customer loyalty, to make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze? Because some CFOs, especially in this kind of era of economic headwinds are looking at it with a more critical eye than they may have in the past.
Well, I think we use all of the industry standard, guest satisfaction options. Not all of them. We use some of the key ones. And in addition to that, we were able to use guest segmentation in our loyalty system to be able to offer guests customized offers, right? So if a guest comes in, a significant amount of time for one item, maybe we suggestively sell something else to the guest, and we can measure that,
Yeah,
right? We're looking at exploring further implementation of a customer data platform to take that personalization to a further level or even further. Um, and that'll help us mine more guest data and make those offers more compelling. But we see it in the offers and how they're redeemed with our guests.
excellent. We talked about partnerships a little bit. Talked about the partnership that you have with DoorDash, and kind of how that's impacted Nukes. Are there other partnerships that you're looking at? And when you look at third-party partner delivery, but maybe even brand partnerships, maybe potentially partnering with a racing entity or another hotel, how do they complement your customer loyalty program and kind of enhance the relationship for your customers?
Well, I think probably the one that we have not talked about that is significant for us is Easy Cater,
Okay,
right? So on the catering side, um, they are far and away the market share leader of that platform, right? Easy Cater. Many companies mandate business catering be run through Easy Cater for ease of invoicing and other reasons. So we do partner with Easy Cater across our system. It does help drive a significant amount of our catering revenue through that platform. And so I did not want to end this today without talking about Easy Cater and how
that's
important that
awesome.
partnership is. So that's probably the one I would highlight.
When you look at your program, what are two or three things that you're most proud of?
Well, I think it's really one, and that is for a company that's small compared to the likes of Panera and Chick-fil-A and others. Um, I think we've rolled out quickly. Now we're smaller, obviously, number of units, but evaluated, adopted, and rolled out technology very, very quickly that is very robust with a very, very, efficient team, which means small, right? And so, obviously, working for a number of brands over the last 25 years and consulting with a number of brands, and between some of those opportunities, I get to see and observe marketing departments around loyalty and IT departments around technology, and Nukes is the best I've seen.
That's awesome. And a couple more questions. What future innovations are you looking at regarding loyalty personalization, customer experience, digital engagement? You talked about potentially rolling out a CDP that can help understanding who the customers are, identify them more proactively. Are there other solutions that you may be looking at regarding technology for customer loyalty?
Well, I think I would say probably TBD. I think our next step is going to be um, really elevating guest segmentation further and the implementation of the CDP to take the personalization even further.
That's awesome. And the last question, what can Loyalty 360 do to help you and your team with your customer loyalty program?
Well, I think it just providing the content and the information that you do. Obviously, we're inside of our own business, and all of us try to observe and read industry trade mags to see what's new and what's real and what's exciting and what's really going to improve hospitality, guest experience, loyalty, and so forth. But we can't be everywhere, you know, absorbing all the things that are going on that can help drive our business. So, you know, it's providing that content, real content around what the industry is seeing.
That makes perfect sense. Well, now we have our wonderful quick fire round of questions that we like to keep them to a one word or a short phrase answer. So
Okay.
the first question we have is, what's your favorite word?
Ocean,
What's your least favorite word?
tired.
What excites you?
My kids' success,
That's awesome. What do you find tiresome?
meetings.
Is there a book that you've recommend or that you've read that you like to recommend to colleagues?
There's one I read about 4 years ago, no, 2 years ago, First Impressions. I
Okay.
forget the author, but I would say First Impressions.
Is there a profession other than one that you currently are doing that you would like to attempt?
Professional golfer.
There you go. And I guess that will probably answer the next question. What do you
You
enjoy doing that you often don't get a chance to do?
golf?
There you go. What's your handicap?
Oh gosh, it's probably 8.5 right now, but
Oh, wow, that's great. Yeah,
it
yeah.
was the lowest it's ever been when I graduated high school. So then I got to college and work and all the distractions that come from that.
Yeah, excellent. Who inspired you to become the person you are today?
My wife,
That's awesome. What do you typically think about at the end of the day?
another day complete.
That's awesome. And how do you want to be remembered by friends and family?
Fun.
Okay, perfect.
Chris, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us today. It was great getting to know you, your background in hospitality, your passion you have for the customer, and also the choice and conversion. I love that framing of the customer journey. And great to hear from you. Great to hear the passion and continued success with the amazing program you have. Also want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. Make sure you check back every Thursday for the next edition of our Leaders in Customer Loyalty. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and also to the LinkedIn page. Until then, have a wonderful day. Thank you.